were right for her. The first ones were too much tire, and then the next ones were not enough tire. Anyway, long story short, Goldie found the Coopers, and they were just right. What a happy, practical ending. Go to sleep. I love you.
Go with the Coopers.
Cooper!
Karting and motorsport enthusiasts, Lucas Oil School of Racing is America's #1 Formula Car race school. Enjoy modern paddle shifters, pit speed limiter, and onboard video along with integrated data systems. Get started today with our 2-day basic or advanced course. Lucas Oil School of Racing is the official school of the Road to Indy. We can also qualify you for your SCCA license. Get started today by visiting us at www.lucasraceschool.com. Karting and motor
and what happens off camber, whatever it may be, even the change of different surfaces depending on what track you're at. The simple fact is it's just not the complete replacement for being in the car. And we've seen this before. Toronto a couple of years ago, coming onto the front straight area, there was a particular section where drivers in iRacing you could take flat out, and it was the final corner onto the front straight. They had changed it a little bit. Well, drivers went out in the very first session, both in USF 2000 and Indy Pro. They clouded the wall coming on there because they thought it was going to be like iRacing, and they could be on the throttle. They literally went through there, couldn't make the corner, got into the wall. So the first couple laps have to be reconnaissance laps to connect what you know from iRacing to what you know from actually being in the car.
Okay, we're going to sit out here for just a moment or so we can get in with the Sirius satellite programming, and we'll be right back with you here on the PA.
Six races over 3 events have already been put into the books in the Indy Lights presented by Cooper Tire season here in 2021. And we'll get 2 more here this weekend on Belle Isle in Detroit, Michigan. Hello, friends. Welcome to IndyCar radio coverage of Indy Lights, the top rung of the Road to Indy presented by Cooper Tires. My name's Rob Howden, joined in the booth here today by Tom Michaels. And drivers have taken to the racetrack in the Indy Lights program. Again, 13 drivers, the same 13 we've run the entire season with thus far, set to go. 1 practice session going in the books earlier today. That session topped by Road to Indy phenom Kyle Kirkwood, 2-time champion, already once a champion in USF 2000. 2019, the title winner in Indy Pro 2000. He was the quickest, pipping his teammate Daniel Frost in the final lap of that 45-minute session. Maybe more importantly, point leader David Malukas having an issue on the opening laps. Lap 4 clouded the wall, significant damage to his Dallara IL-15, and his HMD Motorsports crew having to go to work over the last 2 hours to get that thing back together. Gearbox, engine, bell housing, left front, left rear, and the floor pan of that car as well, all damaged. So they have put a ton of work into getting him back out onto the racetrack. He comes into this event here with an 11-point lead. And Tom, beautiful day here again. It was sunny and 75 when we started the day. I think 82 degrees trackside right now. Absolutely perfect here on a Friday at the Detroit Grand Prix. And this is qualifying. This is crucial here. This is a tough place to pass on here. And starting up front, obviously beneficial.
Absolutely. And for these drivers, not only are they out there trying to learn something, this is one of the few chances they have out here on the race course. I think they were 40 minutes this morning. Now during qualifying, they've got to learn more. They haven't seen this race course before today. So outside of maybe working on the iRacing simulator, this is what they have to use for their learning curve. The next step of the learning curve after that comes in turn 1 tomorrow at the green flag.
That's exactly it. Everybody will be holding the collective breaths for that one. But you're right. This is actually a really good opportunity for these drivers. I think especially for those, some of the potentially, didn't get a chance to test quite as much, whatever it may be. This is a track that Indy Lights has not been to in about 9 years. 2012 was the last time that we were here on the streets of Detroit. The teams haven't been here with this new car either. It didn't come out until 2015. So everybody coming in essentially with a clean sheet of paper. The drivers have never been here before. As we had talked about before we came on air, a number of these drivers, probably 10, 11, 12 years of age the last time that Indy Lights raced here in Detroit. So really a blank sheet of paper and really everybody getting a chance, really all exactly the same to get things going. Not any testing here. Some teams have tested aggressively at other racetracks, some not. So this is a fantastic opportunity for everybody to really show how much development they've been able to really encounter over the first 3 rounds. Again, as we come in, David Malukas with the point leader by 11 markers over Linus Lundqvist. But drivers on the racetrack right now for their qualifying session. It's a half-hour session here, putting in the best laps you can. And, Tom, the big one, obviously, David Malukas, that issue in 4 laps into the opening practice session. He's definitely behind the 8 ball right now.
Yeah, it's going to take a couple of minutes for him to get all warmed up and start putting down really, truly representative times. As we watch here, who's been the best qualifier this year?
Interesting to see you say that because HMD Motorsports have really been strong coming out of the gate. Both Linus Lundqvist and David Malukas, the HMD Motorsports with Global Racing Group collaboration. Those guys have been strong. They've won 5 of the 6 races so far. Malukas with 3 wins, Linus Lundqvist with 2, and Kyle Kirkwood that single victory on the streets of St. Petersburg. Pole positions, however, right across the board. 2 for Kirkwood, 2 for Lundqvist, and 2 for Malukas. So no real outright driver who has kind of shown to be the dominant qualifier, but those 3 drivers who, not surprisingly, sit first, second, and third in points have really been the class of the field thus far coming out of the gate.
So, once again, as we watch the cars make their way around this course, we always thought in terms of this race course as being a 13-turn facility. I think they finally come to our realization that there's a 14th turn out there, and it's the one just before you get to start finish, and it's really kind of a sweeper that comes around to the right. And we know, myself, Larry Henry, we worked here long enough, we know that's not a straightaway.
That's right. Let's call it a corner.
Point. So 14 turns as we are looking at it here, and we're trying to bring up live timing, and we now have it here.
Yeah, again, this is one of the things we laugh at. We start talking about live timing here for the first maybe 3 or 4 or 5 laps of a session, and it's almost a waste of time. You can throw the names out because really the times in this particular session are going to come at the end. It's not like IndyCar where they can come in and change the fuel level during a pit stop, whatever it may be. For the drivers we have here, you start on the full tank, and the key is getting that speed, the maximum speed out of the tires you have on late in the session. Now, one key thing to talk about, 5 sessions for Indy Lights, 1 practice session, 2 qualifying session, 2 races. So a separate qualifying session for each race, 4 sets of fresh Cooper tires for the weekend. They get the 1 carryover set that they're able to use in practice. So you're not having to use fresh rubber during the practice when you're learning the racetrack. But what that means is we throw a lot of strategy. So in these qualifying sessions, they're half an hour long, Tom. So do you do a 10-minute stint, come in, make some adjustments, put fresh rubber back on, and go out again? You can do that twice if you want. You can do that both qualifying, but then you're going to have a scuffed set of tires potentially for the races. Depending on the track surface, the way it wears tires, and how important qualifying is, guys will have different strategy. In a track you can't pass on, it may be better to use 2 sets to get the most out of it to see if you can qualify on pole.
Well, right now, Kyle Kirkwood, he is the quickest at a 126.210. And just as I say that, Alex Peroni moves to the top, 126.154. Peroni, Kirkwood, Frost, Sowery, and Lundquist, that's currently top 5.
So we were down to 124.2. So we're about probably pretty much 2 seconds off now, 126.1 to a 124.2. So we're 2 seconds off the pace. So with the rubber going down, although it is about 7 degrees hotter than it was when we were practicing this morning, but we've got another whole session of drivers being out on the racetrack here. The IMSA cars were out here once again, so that, again, puts more rubber down, track a bit cleaner. So obviously a little bit different approach now for these guys. They'll have to get a feel for what the car's like. But again, at the end of the session, when the car is the lowest it is on fuel, that's when everything comes together, the full equation. The tires have to be the right tire pressure. The drivers have had to bring those tires up to temperature perfectly so they don't overwork the tire too much. The tire pressure has to hit the optimum temperature and the optimum grip level right when that tire is going to offer it. The driver's got to put the lap down. They got to make sure they're not in any kind of traffic whatsoever. A lot of different variables play to being able to find the fast lap. And, of course, the lower the fuel level, the lighter the car, the quicker you're going to be. So Linus Lundquist goes up on top. His teammate at Global Racing Group, Benjamin Pedersen, now takes some time up there in the number 24. Here comes Sowery to the top. That's what I'm talking about. Down to a 125.367. So still a ways to go before they get down. I'm going to say they're probably going to be in the high 123s.
So, Sowery, Pedersen, Lundquist, Kirkwood, and Peroni. That's top 5. McGinnis, Frost, DeFrancesco, Robb, and Listoshkin. That gets you down through 10. David Malukas right now, points leader. He's only got a couple of laps in, so I would have to imagine he's coming in and they're trying to make sure they have to make a few adjustments to that car to get it back to where it was before the crash this morning.
Well, yeah, I would think anytime you crash a car like that, change an engine, everything you do, you're going to do a reconnaissance lap, right? You're just going to do a sighting lap, get out there, they'll check around the back of the engine, they'll pull the cowl off, make sure that nothing's leaking out because they put that car back together. If everything feels good, they do a little maybe a little nut and bolt on it, they'll send him back out. For Malukas, he told me he expects them to do 2 sticker tire runs on the car here because he's going to want to see get the best he can out of the car. He only got 4 laps. He's never been here before. So really the first half of this entire session is just going to be him trying to catch up to where everybody else was after that full 45-minute session.
Well, it's been about 6 years that they went with this new package, which more closely mimics what the Indy cars do. There's 2 different parts to that. You've got the chassis, and then you've got the turbocharged engines in these machines.
Well, and the cool thing for this car, it was literally designed to be the training vehicle for IndyCar. It was designed with the double bulkhead front, part of the tub to be able to run at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We wanted to have the safety there for that Freedom 100 event. It was designed specifically to train these drivers, and that's the best thing about it. 450 horsepower. The drivers also, like IndyCar, have push-to-pass available in the races, although a little different, Tom. It's not to be able to use defensively, only offensively. 50 extra horsepower, 15 times, 15-second applications every time they hit that button once they get to within 1.5 seconds of the driver in front of them. So everything that we push drivers to do in IndyCar, other than pit stops, we make sure they do the same thing in Indy Lights.
Now, this is the qualifying for race number 1 tomorrow morning. They will do it all over again for race number 2, correct?
And again, the track's going to keep changing. Indeed, 9:30 tomorrow morning will qualify for race number 2. That initial race just after the noon hour, 12:10 scheduled start time for Indy Lights, the front end of this doubleheader at the Detroit Grand Prix. Thrilled to be here. I know everybody from the Road to Indy paddock's happy to be here as well. When it was announced that came on the schedule, I think it was a collective round of applause, kind of a standing ovation. They all wanted to get to a marquee event like the one here in Detroit.
Well, Kirkwood, quickest, 1 minute 24.803. Sowery, second quick, just behind there, 6/100ths behind, 124.864. Lundquist at a 124.931.
Looks to me like Devlin DeFrancesco going off there in the runoff. He'll come back onto the racetrack here, able to back up, reverse, and get rolling again. So DeFrancesco currently P5, a 125.226, about 0.4 of a second off. Now, I had said high 124s. We're already at a 124.27, essentially exactly where we were. Kirkwood just about 0.03 of a second off what he did in practice. Here's the balance, the caveat. Do they get into the low 123s because they got fresh rubber. They're learning the racetrack. They've adjusted the chassis itself a bit, the setup. But then you got this. It's significantly hotter right now, 7 degrees or more hotter, 82, 83 degrees here trackside. So that's what kind of makes things kind of the balancing act. But drivers, of course, have had that first session on the track. They've been able to, go back and look at the data, get a feel for the car. It's all kind of soaked in. They go back out on the racetrack now. And I think one of the interesting things, Tom, is a lot of the times, at least not so much this year, but before COVID, there would have been a midday IndyCar session that they would be dealing with that Firestone rubber. We're not doing that right now. It's just strictly the IMSA rubber again. So it will make things different tomorrow morning in qualifying once IndyCar's been out here for their practice session.
Well, 6 laps in the book for Kirkwood, and he's at a 124.279. Peroni now moves to the second quick position, 124.620. So we've really got him kind of crammed in up there at the top. The first 5 all in the 124s. Sowery is third, 124.637. Lundqvist at a 124.8. And Frost at a 124.989. So all of those in the 124. So we wait to see who and when we're going to see somebody drop into that 123 bracket.
Action on pit lane as well as kind of expected here. The first 12 and a half minutes in. So the drivers getting that first stint in, about 7 laps each. Daniel Frost is coming to pit lane at 124.989. His first set of fresh tires. He currently sits 6th as DeFrancesco's moved up to P5. Robert McGinnis in 7th spot into the pit lane. Stingray Robb as well, currently 9th. Nikita Lostushkin in the 59 in 10th. So those 4 drivers into pit lane for fresh rubber. I expect we'll see more drivers to come in unless, somebody like a Kirkwood, he's up top by 0.3 of a second. Do you save that set? And Tom, that's something we've seen many times, especially at Mid-Ohio. If you've got a race car that is significantly better than your than your competitors, and you think you can stand on that fast time, because remember, there's a bonus point as well for fast lap and qualifying, and it could come down to 1 point in this championship. If Kirkwood can sit on that time, save that fresh set of tires, that's going to make a big difference come Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, Kyle Kirkwood continues to be at the top of the chart here. Peroni, Sowery, Lundqvist, and DeFrancesco. Peroni is now in the pits.
Lundqvist as well. So, again, I expected that kind of midway through a 30-minute session. They're going to come in 12, 13 minutes in because they're going to take the time to be able to put the new tires on before they head back out. And they can't refuel, and they obviously can't drain any fuel either. So this next session on fresh tires, they've set their time, 124.2, 124.5 in the case of Kirkwood and Peroni. Now you come in. You talk to your driver. You make a little chassis adjustment, push fresh rubber on. You've got the adjustments. You got new rubber. And you got a driver's more comfortable, and ideally, you got a lower fuel load. Car's going to be lighter. We should see times continue to fall. I'm going to say, well, we're going to be in the high 123s.
The tires on these cars, made by Cooper Tires, and they're the presenting sponsor for the Indy Lights. Tell us a little bit about those tires.
First and foremost, let's talk about the company itself because, they're based in Findlay, Ohio, and the spiritual home is kind of Mid-Ohio, a track that you know so well. As you know, if you've ever been there, if you're on iRacing, you watch any of the races, the tower is adorned with Cooper tires. Turn 1, the bridge is Cooper tires. So that Ohio racetrack, which we'll be at twice this year, is really the spiritual home for Mid-Ohio. But they have become such a tremendous partner. It's almost hard to use the word partner as opposed to family because they work so well with the crews. Everything we do with the Road to Indy, with the drivers, they have a hashtag program where they help teach and encourage drivers to work their social media channels, which is again part of the training we provide. Tires themselves have been designed to be very reliable and durable as well. We talked about the fact we don't use our tires like IndyCar does to help facilitate some of the action. There's not softs. We don't have hards and soft, the preliminaries and the alternates. It's one set of tires. We want the tires to run all the way through to the end, but they do have a peak in qualifying. We want that. We want the drivers to be able to get a feel for when those tires are getting to be really good, and you have to optimize that lap. And that's something we hear from the IndyCar drivers, right? I was on my out lap, I was on that flyer, and I just didn't optimize it. I didn't fully get everything out of the tire. We have that peak in qualifying where the drivers have to do exactly that. And that's, I think, key to the design of this tire compound.
Devlin DeFrancesca is now up to second quickest, to 124.483. Kirkwood into the 123s, at 123.809. So he is at the top of the chart. Peroni, Sowery, Lundqvist, they get you down through the top 5.
123.8, like I said, high 123s. Let's see if Kirkwood makes a fool of me and goes down low 123s. He could, and that just did it. I was wondering what the temperature raise was going to do, the increase. Right now, Kirkwood making it look good, 123.8. Interesting thing, Tom, about the series. We had the hiatus last year, and that was, I think, a big blow to a lot of people to not have Indy Lights last year. Right? We've struggled a bit with car count and just the global economy, the way things were. We didn't have access to a lot of drivers, and there was a lot of other opportunities. With the hiatus, I think it kind of reset. We almost have 2 classes of rookies coming in, because if you look at our series right now, 13 cars, potential for 14 later in the year. There's a number of teams that are lining up. We've got new cars potentially being bought. In the conversations I've had, we may have as many as 2, 3, or 4 brand new teams next year joining the fray, which is unbelievably exciting. A lot of interest from overseas in Indy Lights as well. They're watching what Rinus VK's doing, and Colton Herta, and guys like Pato O'Ward and Felix Rosenquist. You come over to Indy Lights, you get trained, you become an IndyCar driver. You know, if you're good enough. That's the beauty of this whole thing. But if you look at it, we only have 3 second-year drivers, which is crazy. We have actually 10 different rookies. The only veteran drivers, Toby Sowery, Robert McGinnis, and David Malukas. Everybody else, first year in the series, and I think that's what makes it so exciting. A lot of really, really talented young rookies coming up.
So right now, no change at the top. The only one in the 123s is Kirkwood, as we watch. And I was going to go ahead and count down through the 25.
Do it.
And see how many people here. You go ahead and talk. It'll take. I can't talk it.
Let me throw. I'm going to say it's going to be 16, just off the top of my head. All right. I'll keep talking. You keep counting. You got to go back to some of the guys that have been around a long time. Scott Dixon, of course, an Indy Lights champion from a number of years ago as well. I'll give you a full field rundown. How's that sound? Well, Tom counts things up. Kyle Kirkwood on top, 123.809. 0.6 of a second clear for Kirkwood. He's gone to the pit lane right now, and I wonder whether or not he'll sit there, because that means I don't know that he even put on fresh tires. That 123.809 may have came on Kirkwood's only set, and he is 0.6 quicker. If indeed that's the case, he is going to have a huge leg up with 1 extra fresh set of tires for the races on Saturday and Sunday. Devlin DeFrancesco, his teammate, is in second. Alex Peroni, the guy that I have been tabbing as having a breakout weekend here. Peroni for Carlin Racing in the number 5, currently in the 3rd spot. Toby Sowery in 4th for Juncos Racing. And Linus Lundqvist, 2nd in the points. Already 2 times a winner this year, has rounded out the top 5. Daniel Frost in 6th. Benjamin Pedersen 7th. 8th and 9th, Robert McGinnis and Stingray Robb. 10th, Nikita Lastushkin. 11th is Christian Bogle. 12th is Antonio Saravalli. He's into pit lane and only 6 laps in the books for David Malukas. Look for him to, once he gets comfortable, very late in the session to find some more speed. All right, what do we come up with?
All right, now I'm going to do the same thing the pollsters do, with a plus or minus error of 1 or 2.
Okay.
I say 11.
Only 11?
Yeah.
I thought there was more than that. Well,
you go ahead.
Let me have a look.
Out.
Let me have a look. Let me have a look here. I'll do it right now.
I may have missed a couple there. You know, that's what happens when you get to my age. No difference, though, for Kirkwood. Kyle Kirkwood, 123.809. DeFrancesco, Peroni, Sowery, Lundqvist. Now, what usually happens, or often happens here, is we see those quick laps put down, then kind of things maybe even out as we get later in the session, and then boom, that last 5 minutes is something else.
I got 12.
Okay, that's within my margin of error.
That's pretty close. You're
I
good.
wonder which one I missed. Because okay, let me take.
You have a look at the ones I checked there.
Ed Jones is the one.
Ed Jones, yeah. Ed Jones, ironically, the year we brought out the car, the new Dallara IL-15, he was with Carlin Racing that year alongside Max Chilton, both those drivers winners. Yeah, but Joseph Newgarden, Dalton Kellett, Pato O'Ward, Felix Rosenquist, Scott Dixon, Ed Jones, Connor Daly, Rinus VK, Colton Herta, James Hinchcliffe, Max Chilton, and Jack Harvey. Almost half the field all coming through the Indy Lights program.
Well, and also, if you take a look, you've got the older guys.
That's true, yeah.
We've got Scott Dixon on this list, but Elio plus Tony Kanaan, who are still around and running. So, you know, it does get up there toward that 13, mark or so, 14.
Well, and then you look at the 500 years past. Why we've been up to 24, 25 because you threw the Oliver Askew, Spencer Piggott, a lot of those drivers who were with us but don't have currently full-time rides in the IndyCar program, right? But hey, half the field right now coming from Indy Lights.
Spencer Piggott was the poster boy.
Oh, 100% he was.
Of the Road to Indy series.
He was. Obviously won a championship coming up. I think he was second in USF 2000, won Indy Pro. Of course, won the very first year, 2015, of the brand new Indy Lights car with Juncos Racing. One of the two championships Juncos Racing has won over the last 6 years with this new car. Of course, they won with Kyle Kaiser a number of years later, and then won a ton of races with Renus VK before he made his move to IndyCar.
By the way, the track record here for Indy Lights is 121.840. We were discussing, and I don't know that we came up with a final determination, whether that being 20-some years ago, that it would be a different course than what we've got here or what. But nonetheless, these are good times being put in here. Kirkwood at the 123.809. We have been 22 and a half minutes in, and just 7 minutes and 20 seconds now left to go of qualifying for race number 1, the Indy Lights here this weekend at the Chevrolet Detroit Grand Prix, presented by Lear.
Looks to me like Kyle Kirkwood has indeed come in to put on fresh tires back out of the racetrack, or maybe not. Maybe he didn't. We weren't able to see. Here he is. I can't tell whether. I don't know that those are fresh tires right now, or just scuffed with a couple laps on. Remember, about 14 laps is what I'm expecting. 15 laps, maybe 16 at the very most that we'll get here. A lot of the drivers turning 7 or 8 laps in that first stint. So let's look now at 14, 15, 16 being where those tires would. When the tires are getting up to where they need to be, obviously the fuel load going down, I think we're still going to see better lap times. Kirkwood back on the racetrack is a 124.157. His best lap, a 123.809. Linus Lundqvist currently in second. Alex Peroni in third. And here comes Toby Sowery. Sowery in the Juncos Racing 51. The Englishman now goes to within 0.4 of a second, a 124.175. Tom, I think we had 6 or 7 drivers below the 25 mark into the 124s in practice. We've got, a total of 8 there now. No, still just 7, but 1 driver down into the 123s. Pretty good run so far from Kyle Kirkwood.
And Malukas is now at a 125.609. He is the points leader. He had the problem this morning, and now he moves up. Let's see, he moves up now to 9th at a 125.056. So I think he's starting to get confidence in the car after his incident this morning.
Yeah, look at what he's able to do. Actually, I got a little bit of input here from Steve Whittick from TSOladder.com and Trackside Online. He's the one I'll ask about the track in 2000, whether or not it was exactly the same as it was now. But I had mentioned it was 75 degrees this morning, 82-degree ambient temperature. The track temperature right now, Steve's telling me, 28 degrees Fahrenheit warmer, the track itself, than it was earlier today. So the combination of the track being warmer and the drivers being able to get quicker, we always talk about it a lot, especially the spring and fall races, where the aerodynamics, like the thicker air, the hotter, humid air, where the cooler air benefits the engines, right? So we're kind of in the middle here. The warmer it gets, potentially the grip's going down. As long as it doesn't get greasy, the cars are going to like it. And at 123.809 for Kirkwood, look at Toby Sowery, again quicker, 124.004. Sowery to within 0.2 of a second.
Inside 5 minutes to go of qualifying for race number 1 for the Indy Lights. That'll be tomorrow morning. That'll be part of a full day of activity here at the Belle Isle course, sitting here in the Detroit River. It's an absolutely gorgeous venue. You look all around, you see nothing but the beautiful sights, and luckily today we see nothing but blue sky as well. So Kirkwood with the best time thus far, and he is back out there. The only one who is in the pits right now is DeFrancesco, who is showing as 5th quick to this point in time, and just a little over 4 minutes to go.
I got to think that'll be it for DeFrancesco. I don't know that you'd put tires on to come out for 1 or 2 laps. I just don't see it making any sense. Right now, Robert McGinnis making a move up. McGinnis has gone to the 8th position as well. He's 0.8 of a second back, a 124.610. And again, I firmly believe that the fact that these drivers haven't been here before is the reason why we're seeing such a big gap. 1.5, 2.5 seconds back. Here comes Kirkwood again, quicker. There's the number 68 of Daniel Frost working that dead jet machine around here, the Andretti Autosport driver. Frost currently sitting a little further back, probably in, I think, the 7th position right now for Daniel Frost. Quick lap of a 1:24.569. But Lundqvist down to 23s, as does Alex Peroni. This is what I'm liking up front here now. We've got maybe, 25 hundredths of a second, 2.5 tenths between first, second, third, and fourth. That is Kirkwood, Lundqvist, Peroni, and Sowry. 3 minutes to go. And Tom, Kirkwood, Andretti, Lundqvist, HMD with Global, Peroni, Carlin, Sowry, Juncos Racing. We talk about the equality in our paddock and just the competitive nature. 4 different teams in the top 4.
Well, and you also talk about the loyalty in the paddock. These guys, Andretti, Juncos, Carlin, they've all been around for a while now and continue to support this series.
100%. And the cool thing is, you look at some of the programs over in Europe, and I don't want to, it's not to dog those series, but you know that if you have to be with this team or this team to win the championship. If you're with this particular team, you're a top 10 guy. You got to be with the top teams. If you look at our teams, every team has won a championship and races throughout the entire time. You know, they've all won it. You know, HMD Motorsports, which is leading the way right now, the team point leader. They've got first and second in the points. They're a new team. They haven't won a championship, but they've won races. Andretti championship, Juncos championship, Carlin championship. All of our primary top teams of the 5 we have one family team with Passera Racing. Otherwise, everyone else has won championships, and that's the beauty of this program.
Right now, we hit 2 minutes to go. Who's going? Lundqvist goes to the top. Lundqvist at a 1:23.429. Sowry second quick at a 1:23.6. Kirkwood back to third at a 1:23.7. But I don't think we've heard the last of him.
Yeah, the fuel load's still burning down, but Kirkwood, who was looking tall up front there with a quick time of 1:23.752. Lundqvist and Sowry come calling right down into the now mid to low 1:23s, a 1:23.429. As Tom had said, less than a minute and a half remaining right now, so we're talking 1, maybe 2 laps. Of course, the timing stripe on the back part of the racetrack before they come through the penultimate corner, turn 13, and able to dive in onto the pits. That way they'll have 1 more lap to go. Everyone trying to snake by through, see if they can get 1 more lap. It's Lundqvist, Sowry, Kirkwood, Peroni, David Malukas to P5. 5th after just 13 laps, 4 laps before he hit the wall. Here's Stingray Robb in the scholarship car, the Road Indy Scholarship, last year's Indy Pro 2000 champion. Stingray currently in the 11th position. Kirkwood back to the top, Tom, 1:23.258. The low 1:23s. What a lap there for Kyle Kirkwood to take it back by 17 thousandths of a second. 40 seconds to go.
So we need to watch and see whether anybody can knock off Kyle Kirkwood there, as we are in right now, half a minute to go.
Peroni back in the 4th position for Carlin Racing. Look for some magic out of the Australian driver in the Blundstone Delara IL-15. There, that's Christian Bogle, his teammate for Carlin Racing. Bogle currently in the 13th spot at 1:25.317. David Malukas still running their P5, looking for Malukas to turn 1 up here. 17 hundredths of a second, the current lead right now for Kyle Kirkwood, the young American from Jupiter, Florida, USF 2000 champion in 2017, or 18 rather. Indy Pro 2000 champion 2019, looking to get his 3rd straight Road Indy championship and go to IndyCar. Checker flag has flown to end this session. Everybody on the final lap on a flyer. Can anyone put 1 down? Lundqvist does not do it. 1:23.429, the best for Linus Lundqvist. Saravalli's in pit lane as well, as is McGuinness, DiFrancesco. There's the 7 of Bogle, trying to find a little bit more here in the final lap. Sowry doesn't do it, 1:25.536. What about Peroni? Peroni and Malukas still on the racetrack. 1:23.258 for Kirkwood. Peroni, 1:23.850, goes quicker, but holds his spot in the 4th position. I don't know that Malukas and Frost still on the racetrack. 3 drivers have not yet got back to pit lane. Malukas, Frost, and Pedersen. But it's a 1:23.258 for Kyle Kirkwood up front. Linus Lundqvist in 2nd, Toby Sowry 3rd, Alex Peroni 4th. Malukas, I said, not back across the line as of yet. Even if he finishes up where he is right now, Tom, there he is across the line finally in the 79. This kid's got 19 laps in total, half the laps of his competition, and to be able to go out there in a car that they had to totally rebuild, pretty impressive run for David Malukas. But there he is in the Stelrec Company First Tech's Road to Indy Scholarship car from Jupiter, Florida. Kyle Kirkwood breaks the lock in the pole position. It's his third pole position of the year as well. 123.258 for Kirkwood. He'll start on the pole for race number 1 tomorrow. That's at 12:10. Kyle Kirkwood, Tom, an impressive young driver.
Absolutely. I have had a chance to see him in some of the lower formulas and F4 and what was then F3, and the guy just wins. That's all he does is win races, win championships, and he's doing it here again.
Yeah, one of our stars for sure. USF 2000 champion, Indy Pro 2000. As I said, let's have a look at the results there. Kirkwood, Lundqvist, Sowery, Peroni, and Malukas, the top 5. Frost in 6th. Pedersen 7th. 8th is McGinnis. 9th, Robb. 10th, Lastishkin. 11th, DiFrancesco. 12th, Saravalli. And in 13th, Christian Bogle. I'll tell you, folks, pretty impressive run. A great way to start off this weekend here at the Detroit Grand Prix. Let's head down to pit lane as Katie Kyle stands by with Kyle Kirkwood.
Kyle Kirkwood will be starting on the pole for race 1 of Indy Lights tomorrow. And Kyle, you guys didn't have very much time on track in order to learn the track. How did you do it so quickly?
I got to give it off to the team. Andretti's done an awesome job just getting the car prepared for here. And we're able to take some of our other setups from the other street courses, kind of apply it here. But what is a game changer is that we can look at all their Andretti IndyCar stuff, and it just allowed us to try and figure out the car a little bit more. So we started off quick here in the practice, and fortunately we're really quick there in the qualifying, but the track's going to keep evolving like every street course does, and hopefully we can keep the pace that we have currently.
This is also a very physical street course, so have you been preparing differently for this one compared to other tracks?
Not really. It's the same preparation. You want to be as ready as you can for every single event, but it's a lot hotter here. There's not much time to relax, because you're going down the straights and you got the bumps and you're just hanging on to the wheel the entire time. So, and it's the first time here, so the visuals, everything comes quicker at you. It's not really muscle memory at the moment, but yeah, no, it's hot. It's tough. This is a tough track. I imagine. I feel for the IndyCar guys with the windscreen, how hot it is in there. So, no, hopefully we can keep this pace that we have currently. It's all good.
Well done. We'll look forward to the race tomorrow. Congratulations, Kyle.
Tom, a little insight into what it's like to drive one of these Indy Lights cars around this racetrack, holding on the straightaway, as he said. And I like the little nod there to the NTT IndyCar Series drivers, because one of the things I love when I talk to guys that have gone from Indy Lights to IndyCar, they train as hard as they can for Indy Lights, then realize they have to double up on the training to run an IndyCar. It's that much harder, but a good insight there. Kyle Kirkwood, very impressive. $2,500 for winning the pole here at Belle Isle. A great start for him for Andretti Autosport. And you look at Andretti, first, but then you got to go back to, 6th with Frost, 7th with McGinnis, and then 11th with DiFrancesco. Kirkwood obviously kind of leading that team into battle this weekend.
Absolutely. So that race is tomorrow morning, and before that, they're going to qualify again. That for Sunday's race, and we got a lot of action for these guys this weekend.
Yeah, a ton of racing still to come. Qualifying tomorrow morning at 9:30. Race 1 at 12:10. Race 2 at 10:35. And, of course, we'll be passing this all over to IndyCar Radio as they fire things up tomorrow. The anchor of the Indy Lights broadcast, Nick Yeoman, will be joined by Mark Janes and Davey Hamilton in the booth. Michael Young and Jake Query will be in the corners, and I'll be down on pit lane with Ryan Marine and Joel Sebastianelli. Lots of racing to come here on the IndyCar Radio Network, folks. So remember, IndyCar on track for their practice session at 5 o'clock this afternoon. But otherwise, that's it here for the Detroit Grand Prix. Kyle Kirkwood on the pole in Indy Lights. He'll start from the front row, the inside, for race number 1 tomorrow here in Detroit at 12:10.